Intellectual stew. Intellectual stew with James Kirklin.
Powerful and provocative. Prophetic and practical.
Intellectual stew.
Informative and inspirational. How you gonna do better if you don't know what better looks like? I do.
Intellectual stew.
Come on, let's talk about it with me, the mind massager.
Intellectual stew with James Kirklin.
I love that organ. Come on, Ashley. There she is. We'll do it one more time. We'll give it a couple more minutes, give a few more people a chance to get in. We'll do it one more time. We bring my co-host in, Jimmy, Ashley.
What's going on?
Getting ready. What's going on? It's 10:03. I'm giving about another minute or two to come in.
How's everybody doing?
So far, so good, Jimmy.
Good.
People, as you come in, if you don't mind speaking, say hello. If you come in somebody's house, at least say hello. Speak. Let us know you're there. Jimmy, that white and red look good on you, boy.
You like that?
I like that, and I see that. Jimmy done left us for a minute. He clicked out. Come back. Hey, Patricia. Y'all like my music? We're going to do more with this music after a while. Chief and I, my friend Chief. Patricia shared the video. Okay. Hey, Shantae. Somebody else just shared it, I think. Stacy. Okay. Whoever Stacy is, I don't know her. Okay. Now I know who she is. We almost ready. Here come Jimmy. You know what? I was supposed to be sharing it and everything during that little time, and I didn't share it. So if everyone else that is here now, if you would be so kind to share this stream, we can get this conversation started in just a few moments. How you doing, Ashley?
I'm good. What about you?
We're not gonna see your beautiful face tonight.
You are. Just give me 2.5 slow seconds.
2.5. Okay, I'm not gonna count 1,000. I'm just
Slow.
1,000.
Yeah, just give me a little second.
1,000. Now, Jim, I'm not gonna ask if we're gonna see your pretty face. I'm just gonna ask if we're gonna see your face. We're gonna leave it just like that. I'm not asking if I'm gonna see your pretty face. I'm not that type of fella. But I'm sure we're gonna. Why am I the only one being seen tonight? That was a long 2.5 seconds, Ashley. That was a long. There, Jimmy is. All right, cool. Don't have me nervous on it. Hey, Tracy Felton, how are you? Glad to see you on here tonight. We got 8 people on so far, and we're gonna have an interesting conversation. We're gonna make a kind of. Hey, Stacy Jacob, how are you? Good evening. So listen, we're gonna make a quick, hard left turn tonight. Kind of from and deviate from some of the conversations that we've had during the previous weeks. During the previous weeks, we've been discussing things like what were some of the things we talked about? Who's the prize? What else?
Right. We've talked about who's the prize. Then we talked about women having too much of a masculine role.
Trading places. Trading
places. And so we've been kind of moving along with relationships, and you decided to, take another direction so we can include it. It's as relevant as it is as a part of relationships. The children are included.
Exactly. And Ashley,
Yes, sir.
you ready for our conversation tonight?
I'm always ready. I stay ready
to
keep from getting ready.
So if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready, right? All right. So let me tell y'all this. So y'all see this shirt. I know I use a kind of a weird font tonight on my shirt, and Jimmy has his shirt on, and that hashtag says "On the Path to Better." Now, when I talk about better, I don't just talk about better relationships, but more than anything, I talk about a better community. And in order to have a better community, you got to have better relationships. And having better relationships, we got to be able to speak into our future, and our children are our future. And when you look at a lot of what is going on in our communities, I believe that a harsh reality is that a lot of children really aren't being parented, if you don't mind. I believe that we've kind of, a lot of us went after what I like to call psychologists call it this as well, the more mentality. We wanted more money. We wanted bigger houses. We wanted bigger cars, which required us to work more. And when we started working more, then we stopped raising our children as much, if that makes sense. We started allowing our devices to raise our children. We started exposing our children to stuff that our parents would have never exposed us to, because some of us treat our children like our friends as opposed to our children. And I believe that respect has been lost. I think a lot of it started, Jimmy, with mine and your generation. I don't know. I'm maybe a little bit older, but I think it really started with our generation, because these kids, I mean, I even joke sometimes, but even there's still some truth in a joke. I think crack hit the streets in '86. So I say sometimes, so now I say crackheads are grandmothers now.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, and I'm gonna tell you another addition that you have to take in consideration. You got to also take in consideration back then, religion had our parents more strict, and once our parents got out of all of that strict rules and regulation, they loosened the noose on their kids.
Absolutely.
And the pendulum swung too far to the left. First, it was too far to the right with the extreme religion and the going to hell and you got to be strict. Now it's all the way to the left, and it's everything is too loose. We never got any balance. And
Absolutely.
so this is where we are as a result of there's been no balance from the church to the parents and now to us.
Absolutely. And so what I wanted to do tonight is I wanted to discuss this issue. Hey, Brandy, how you doing? But I want to discuss this issue of parenting with or without a partner, because that has been one of the biggest excuses, because one accusing the others of not being there and all of those things and whatnot. So we're going to get into some of the comments. We're going to get into all these things. I got special guests coming on tonight. We have some questions. We're going to get into the whys. We're going to get into the hows. But over the next couple of weeks, next few weeks, however long, when we decide to talk about this subject, I really hope that we can come with some solutions. Now, I was talking with one young lady today, and she said, my children are grown. I don't think we ever stop being parents. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
So with
I
that,
think the whole saying is they go from being on your lap to being on your heart.
I never heard that saying before, but I like it.
Yeah.
So I've always said that as a parent, at a certain point, parenting changes from parenting to counseling. And so my children are at the age where Mackenzie will be 18 next month. So mine will be 18, 19, 23, 20. I mean, so I got, I'm at a stage now. It ain't like I'm whooping them no more. None of that kind of stuff. So now it's more of counseling than anything. Lakeisha Hughes said something here, and I want to put this out here. She said, I would like to suggest we were not taught what was really right, and now people are kind of doing it their own way. I agree with that. And I'm going to actually bring up some more interesting.
It was more do as I say, not as I do.
Right.
That definitely falls in that category. That falls in that category as well. So let's start the conversation like this. It's 10:11 now. We got a special guest that'll be on around 10:30. But let's start it like this. So there's the old African Indian proverb, whatever it is, that says it takes a village to raise a child. So let's define. Ashley, I want to start with you with this question, and you all in the comments, y'all can help me with this as well. Let's define what and who represents the village in a child's life. What and who represents the village in a child's life? Keisha, Shantae, Brandy, Patricia, all of y'all help me out. And listen, everybody that's listening, hold on. Everybody that's listening to this thread right now, do me a favor, real quick, share it real quick, and we're gonna move on. Now go ahead, Ashley, answer that question.
In my opinion, the village depends on the person. There's no set what's the word? There's no set rule to who should be in the village. I think the village is set by each individual. For me,
that's a good textbook answer, but I want to hear who's Ashley's child village.
Can I finish my statement?
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Go to the other.
For me, as I was getting ready to say, for me, it's my mother, it's my aunt, it's my best friend. Those are the people that are in my village. There's some teachers that are at my daughter's school. There's some church, my pastor is a part of that village. My uncles, her dad, my ex-husband, all of those people are a part of my mother-in-law. All of those people are a part of my village. I can't speak for anybody else.
That's all I'm asking you to do is speak for yourself. You did a great job too, Ashley. You so awesome.
You will not do that.
You the best. I told you. You the best. So, Jimmy, who represents a village to you in a child's life? In a child's life.
Well, when I came up, the village was anybody that my parent, in other words, anybody that a parent's child is coming in contact with as it relates to their growth and development.
Okay. That's
from my parents to the neighbors, to the man at the store up the street that knew my family, to the people at the community center that I went to that my parents knew. See, back then when I grew up, everybody, as a result of segregation, everybody knew everybody because all the blacks had to go to a certain school. So with that being said, once we were raised, they knew, you were Hinton. So, I'm in check everywhere I go. They knew my parents. So it wasn't too much I could get away with because, I'd get in trouble with them. And then by the time I get home, they done already called my parents and told them what I did. So the village was anybody that the parent's child came in contact with that had, knew that family, was connected some way to that family, and had some type of input or direction of that child's life.
That's a good answer. That's a real good answer. So question, so with that being said, if in fact it takes a village to raise a child, what happened to the village? What do you think? What do y'all think were the major factors that started to affect the village, whereas that the children were not as affected by? Because everybody don't want people whooping their children anymore. Back in the day, the neighbor could whoop you down the street. Actually, I don't know if you came from that generation or not. But back in the day,
I'm good from a country. Did
yes, I ain't gonna lie, I didn't get a lot of. I wish I used to get whoopings, but I didn't get a lot of whoopings growing up.
I didn't get none, but if somebody wanted to chastise you and say something, they didn't care about you telling your mama.
No,
they didn't tell you. They didn't care about none of that. So yeah.
Well, see, the laws scan came in.
There you go.
Well,
y'all gotta remember.
No.
See,
if you mentioned that in our house, you were gonna get a whooping anyway.
Right, but see, after so long, it proliferated after a while, because see, in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, it was known you gonna get beat with a slat, or somebody gonna get go outside and get a piece of a tree. See, all that was going on.
Braiding them up, everything.
All of that was going on.
Jimmy, you didn't say a switch. You said a slat.
I got whooped with a race car track.
I know a couple of people. Them race car tracks.
Y'all know that. Y'all know that orange race car track.
No,
they must have been giving them away.
I know what it is, but I never got that whooping. No, I used to beg for whoopings. I didn't realize. I think I was 40 years old before I realized I was abused growing up. I really believe I was abused. So the discipline. But I didn't get spankings though.
Right, but the discipline went away when the pendulum swung the other way, as a result of all that religion and all that strict raising. Once the parents. It was the parents from that era, they loosened up. They loosened up on the rules, the regulations, what you could do, it because they didn't want their kids to be raised under that strict arm of power like that. So they gave the kids too much leniency, and now here we are.
I feel like it went away when the grandmothers stopped being grandmothers.
And grandmothers got younger.
Exactly. That's when I feel as though.
Hey, but let's talk about that village though. Hold on. Chelsea Adams said something, and I really want to explore that, because I hear her heart. I hear her when she says this. She says the part of the reason the village got damaged is because trust was lost. And the reason I believe, Chelsea, and you can help chime in and help me if I'm wrong, trust was lost because we no longer really knew our neighbors. In the houses that I lived in when I was married, I had no clue who my neighbors were. And they lived right across the street. I didn't have anybody I could call and say, go check on my kids. Because I didn't know. Growing up, even though I was one of the, I think I might have been the only black on my street. I wasn't the only black in my neighborhood. But I did know neighbors on both sides, across the street, all those things. So we had people that could kind of keep us in check, right? But when I had my children in my home, I didn't know my neighbors. And so with that being said, if we're talking about having a village participate, Chelsea, as you say, in the rearing of your most precious commodity, because our children should always be our most precious commodity. You're not going to just let everybody deal and everybody handle your children. Nobody.
Not only that, to add to what Tracy may have, to add on to that, as far as the trust loss, we know that we have dealt with this, with people sweep that on the rug, but everybody wasn't truthful on how they were interacting with your children back then and even now. So you don't trust as much as far as allowing your children to go over to homes where there are men there. We didn't deal with a lot of homosexuality back then as we do now, but there were a lot of older men that were messing with the younger people. With the younger children, men, well, some were messing with boys too, but a lot of it was the young ladies. So
pedophilia has been around for a long time.
Absolutely.
What were you going to say, Jim?
Well, what we got to also add to that is the community is no longer the community because too many blacks wanted to move out in white folk neighborhoods. You got to remember that. See, when segregation, we were the closest during segregation.
Absolutely. People will argue with that, but that's true.
Watch this. We were 80% married during segregation.
Absolutely.
See, when it was pressure on the black race, everybody tightened up as a unit. But when everybody got their rights, everybody, you know, we got the women's rights, and everybody want their rights, and everybody want their gender, and want to be this and want rights for all that. See, that broke down the village, that broke down the community, that broke down the neighborhood. So now everybody go for what you know.
Absolutely. And that was part of the plot that I did a few shows a few months ago called The Plot to Destroy Black Families. And one of the points that I raised was that during the Fair Housing Act of 1967, when we were allowed to, there was no longer legal to discriminate based on where a person could live based on their sex, race, gender, all those types of things. Then those of us that could left, and when they left, most of those represented the leadership in the community. And because they represent the leadership in the community, when those people started to leave those communities, they ended up leaving the communities exposed because there wasn't leaders. And that's when single motherhood started to, the numbers started to go up. So it was a whole lot of things that ended up helping to damage the village as we know it. So the question that becomes is that how, if it does take a village to raise a child and the village is damaged, how do you go forward with raising those children? Or do you just abandon the whole principle of the village? Do you abandon that whole village principle? Or are you just more selecting who you allow to be a part of that village?
You don't abandon the village. You are more.
Okay. Y'all are killing me. Ashley, I think she got kicked out. She was in the middle of something. Did you hear the question, Jimmy?
Yeah, you were say it again because I was waiting on her to respond, but go ahead.
Yeah, I said, y'all, okay, are you still there?
Go ahead.
Okay,
yeah, go ahead. It was.
I said, now that we know that the village is damaged,
right?
Here she is back. Are you ready for the answer, Ashley?
Yeah, I said you don't abandon the village and just dissolve it. I mean, if your car breaks down, you don't just leave a car on the side of the road. You fix it. You add whatever needs to be added to it for it to keep going. So yeah, you don't. I mean, one or two people that's inside of your circle or your village doesn't constitute everybody being a bad person. Remove them and keep it moving, keep it pushing.
And Jim, I'm coming to you in a second. A lot of it though, Ashley, and I'm gonna give you a little pushback on that. A lot of it's it's not necessarily that it's bad people. A lot of it is that it's not any people. See, there's a new phenomenon as well, Jimmy, that from where we came from in the neighborhood. Now there's this whole suburban Negro, as I like to call them. Okay, and a lot of suburban Negroes don't have roots in those suburbs. And because they don't have roots in those suburbs, you're very limited in the amount of people that are your quote unquote village. You know, for a long time, especially with us growing up, my children growing up in the baseball world, it wasn't a whole lot of people that looked like us, right? So with us so we didn't have the relationship. I don't want to say alienated, but there was a point where I chose my son and his baseball career over my church family and things Keisha can attest to that, because Trey was in baseball every Sunday and Saturday and Sunday. So I had to be there. And so that became my village. But those people weren't like me. And I darn sure wasn't going to trust them with my kids or anything of that sort. So sometimes our kids were probably viewed as antisocial because most of what they dealt with was right there in our household. So my question becomes, restating the same question, are you abandoning the village principle at that moment? Or are you having to, as Lakeisha said, restructure it in a different way to give them those village type, to give them a village type feeling, if you will? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the structure, the dynamic has changed.
Mm-hmm.
You have to move. See, that's the problem. We didn't move with the time, the sign of the times. We never moved and made the correct adjustments as a result of the male not being the head of the household. See, we gotta start from the beginning. When the man was kicked out of the household during the 60s and 70s, that started the downfall of the foundation of the village.
Okay,
you see what I'm saying? And so what has happened as a result of that that's a major blow where the man is concerned in that and holding that foundation up. So there had to be another dynamic come up to supplement the father not being there, and our race was not prepared for that. Thus, here we are. We got a lot of single black women raising boys to men, and there's no father in the house, and women are doing it all by themselves. So now, you know, the only way I'm answering your question now, the only way we can get this done is by having mentors. African American male mentors are the only thing that the shift that can be required if we're going to do something. When you start talking about how do we fix it, but we had to go back to the beginning and show where the dynamic shifted as a result of all of that. So the only thing I can see, and you know, I've been active in mentor programs in the Little Rock School District. I had one even 13 years ago, and now they're just now coming across talking about, you know, we need, you know, more mentors. Not just mentors, African American male mentors need to be in these schools. That's the solution. And until we get together on that, all resources on deck, it's gonna get worse.
Absolutely.
So I have a question, because I hear you say that African American male mentors, are they mentoring everyone, or are they just are you only specifically targeting the males?
Yeah, I'm only specifically targeting African American males, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, because watch this. The Arkansas Department of Correction base building prisons on the behavior of African American 3rd graders. Listen to that. I'm going to say that again. The Arkansas Department of Correction base building future prisons on the behavior of African American males at the 3rd grade level.
Yep.
And so that's the people don't know that in Arkansas. And so with that being said, that's where you have to address the issue, because they can still be molded. Once they get down up into the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, they about made their mind up. They're going to be a thug, a hoodlum, a drug dealer, or whatever. But once you can get them at the 3rd, 4th, and 5th and still kind of mold them and let them know you don't have to be no thug. But once they get to that junior high and high school, we already seeing, you know, they're a damn fool by that time if ain't nobody got to them and they're not willing to abide by the law. Because if you don't obey the law out here, you're going to obey the law in prison. I promise you that. Absolutely. I've been there. I did 5 in the state, 2 in the Fed. So, you know, we can quit playing. It's real now.
And Jimmy, that's not just Arkansas. That's nationwide. That's how they build prisons in the future, based on how 3rd and 4th grade African American boys fair behavior, standardized tests and standardized tests as well.
That's right.
And that's why those tests are so culturally biased, because they're setting us up for something that they're trying to set. Y'all got to understand, all of these things are a plot. Okay, these are all things that are designed to tear down and destroy the African American family, because they know the strength that resides. Now, Lakeisha said something a minute ago, and I really want Jimmy, I want you to address this.
Okay.
She said black men have been conditioned to leave and move on from slavery. I don't know if she meant since slavery or from slavery, but she said we've been conditioned to leave. Does that sound right, that we've been conditioned to leave?
No, it's not. That can't be true, because in the 60s, 80% of the African American race was married. It only started happening after women wanted individual rights and wanted to be independent. That's when that came up. Yeah. It wasn't the African. It was the black woman in the 60s took the check that the government gave. Absolutely. And the man had to go as a result of that. It wasn't that the man wanted to leave. No. A lot, and I'm gonna say this, so just so to piggyback on that, back then, a lot of men had children that they took care of. It was known for African American men to take care of their kids. Now, that wasn't to say that it's a lot of women that didn't have fathers. I didn't mean that either. But I'm saying back then it was known to take care of your kids if you got a woman pregnant. Today, women are having kids and don't want to be married. See. Yeah. And so they caring before they marry. I'm telling you what we're talking about, facts. I'm not talking about women or bashing black women. I'm not into that. I'm in the outcome. So Absolutely. I am saying it started. They put the as a result of the black women's movement with the wanting rights with the white women that they weren't supposed to even be included on that. The government gave the black women a check, but they had to put the black man out even when he went back to the factory. So that's where that's where it started. Okay. And that's not, again, I'm not pointing fingers at the sisters. I love the sisters, but as a collective, that's one of the greatest sins that black women collectively have made, and we hadn't recovered as a result of that, because it's going downhill now as it relates to relationships.
Yeah, Keisha, it was for a period, but the seeds that are planted don't yield fruit until the next generation or the next till later on. That's a tough one. That really is a tough one. But typically, when you look statistically, the statistics even say that black women are leaving marriages quicker than they're getting married. So 80%. A lot of times it's not us leaving; it's us getting put out a lot of times too. Hey, but listen, we're gonna make another left turn right quick. We're gonna make another left turn. I have a special guest that I'm bringing in. He's my chiropractor. He is not a therapist. He is my chiropractor. So I'm gonna bring him in today because I put doctor. Some people thought that I was bringing like a child psychologist or something on, or a family therapist. I wasn't gonna say no names, but but because last week I did put a filler out to try to find a family therapist. If y'all know something, let's get them involved. But I got my homeboy, my friend. He's gonna approach parenting from the second time around. So we're gonna let's get him on. Let's have a conversation. Hopefully he'll stick around with us for a little while. Dr. Flife, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you doing this evening?
Man, I'm making it on broken pieces, but I'm gonna hold on to the ship.
And there it is.
Yes, sir. I like that shirt on you, man. Hey, that green and gold look good on you, bro.
That green and gold does. If they can get that.
If I can get a chiropractor to get on the path to better, as good as things are with him, then y'all, we own to something. Hey, Jimmy.
This
is your frat brother right here, Jimmy.
You, Newt. How you doing, Fi?
You know it all day, every day, Newt.
All right, D.
I wish she brought me one of those right there, like you wearing.
You see that?
That one was free. You order the next one. I got you. How about that?
I'm going to say I need the order. I need the sweatshirt.
You want the sweatshirt?
Me too. That's what I need.
Look, Jimmy got the white and red, the red and white. He
Absolutely.
got all of it. And then he called me about the hoodie early on the day. So all that has been good. All that has been good. Hey, so listen. Dr. Flife and I have been. He first of all, he started out as my doctor, but then somewhere along the lines we became friends. And this has probably been 7-8 years, Doc. Somewhere 6-7 years, somewhere around that range.
Man, it's got to be almost 8 years because
it's got to be 8.
Was in high school.
Who? Yeah, Trey was in high school. Yeah, Trey was in high school. Now, let me set this up like this. Doc is a chiropractor, but Doc cares about people, right? And Doc wants to see you better. So he taught me a lot about chiropractic care. Doc, I hope you share this with your listeners as well. And if you haven't, just hit that share button right quick and they'll catch on. But Doc cared about people, right? We started out as friends. Like I said, he came over to the dealership. I found out what he was doing, where he was. He's a black chiropractor. I'm definitely going to follow him. For those of y'all that are in the Marietta area and you need a chiropractor, he's your man. He's right at the corner of Windy Hill and Cobb Parkway in the top of the auto spa right there. And he does an awesome job. He's really into that alternative health thing, and he wants to see you in a better situation. But I'm going to tell you, he took care of me. He did. He took care of me, and that was cool. But when he got me was when he took care of my children. He took care of my children. Trey came in, and Trey was up for baseball. They were looking at him for scholarships, and it was going to be a lot of scouts at a game. And you remember that, Doc? Trey had popped his hamstring the night before, and Doc came in. Doc massaged him, put some kind of hot stuff on him, and taped him up real good. He said he'll be all right tonight. And Jimmy, he had him running that night, Doc.
Wow.
He had him running, bro, for real.
That's
he had
a
him
blessing.
running with a hamstring injury the night before. But the one that really got me, because I saw it in his eyes on that one, was when Kennedy tore her labrum. And there was one medical doctor that was real big on trying to get her to do surgery. And so I said, Doc, what do you think? He said, nah, man, she's too young for that. Bring her in. Let me talk. Let me see her. So I brought her in. He did some tests on her. And then he said, man, we can fix that. And he took his time and he brought her back over about a 6-8 week period. and Kennedy did well, was able to finish her season, all those things. But he did it not only with the compassion of as a compassion of a doctor, but he also did it as a compassion of a father or a parent.
Absolutely.
You understand what I'm saying? And I felt comfortable with, I'm gonna tell you something, I don't want too many Negroes touching my daughter. Okay,
right.
I don't mean, I'm right there in front of you, but still, I will. Doc know I'm a little. He's like me in that regard. So, but I trusted him with my child, and I think a lot of that was because of the natural fact that he's a parent. Now, I'm gonna be quiet and let him tell his story about how the ages of his children, and then Ashley and Jimmy, and then those in the comments, we can question him a little bit and see. So, Doc, tell us about your journey through parenthood.
Well, I mean, realistically, my journey has been a unique experience, which a lot of men or brothers, I must say, probably have experienced. First of all, I have a 30-year-old daughter, and I have a 27-year-old son, and now a soon-to-be-come tomorrow, a 3-year-old son.
Wow.
So I am starting all over again. My first experience, I was 17 years old, but this is the truth of the matter. I didn't find out truly about my daughter until she was 20.
Oh, wow.
This is the young man, I'm a North Carolina country boy. So, I mean, back in the country, ain't much to do but go to school, go to work, play sports, and then,
run the women.
Watch grown folk. Growing up around the shot houses and all the other kind of stuff, just being transparent and, seeing things happen. Then the thing is, I was exposed to a lot. So I got exposed early to a lot of things, but I did not know, because the simple fact that my daughter's mother was a little older in that sense. And here I am chasing skirt tails, but I thought it was somebody else's child. Then she thought so as well. But needless to say, hindsight 2020. I mean, the thing is, I always felt as though there was something missing in my life. And then here comes along my son. Wow. Now, I'll be transparent again on that. Here I am in college, sophomore year of college, and I'm thinking, okay, God sent child. I'll go along as a father, stand as a father, things of that nature, and come to find out that's not my biological child either. But when God sends children into your life, whether yours are not biological or via someone else, however it may be, and you have a heart for children, then the thing is that they're yours. I've raised them many. Just as James had talked about right then, the way that I've been with even some of the athletes over the years. A lot of these kids call me pops, call me dad. And it's not because I've been with their mother. It's not because I've been a part of their mother's, situation or whatever else. It's because the thing is that I lost my father when I was 17, and my father was my hero. And, my mom, I loved her to pieces and still love my mother to pieces, but she was firm on me. And, my father was my go-to, and my grandfathers were my go-tos. So I lost my first grandfather when I was 8, lost my other one when I was 16, and then lost my dad exactly 1 year thereafter. So all the men were wiped out of my life. But I watched so many times growing up around the trailer parks, around the projects. I mean, you're looking at a welfare kid. Okay. So, I mean, that's the thing. So God delivered me from a whole lot of situations. But overall, the same part about it, I had 2 other brothers via my dad's first marriage, and they didn't really care much about me because here I am, the mixed kid. Mm-hmm. So just going along as a parent, in that sense of it, over the years, and whether, as I said, to my biological kids or not, then the thing is just seeing the importance of parenthood. Okay. And when the fathers weren't present, or in some cases when there was some trials and tribulations in the household, I stepped in as those situations. But here I am now later in life and older and wiser. And I said, you know what? It's time for me to right some wrongs. But then not only that, to really stand firm and solid on raising my own. And God delivered a son to me.
So let me ask you a question. So you said the daughter's 30.
Yes.
The son is 27, but you thought it was your biological, but you didn't find out till later.
No, but as you raise them and you feed them, they look like yours anyway.
Exactly. So, did you raise him in your household?
Well, I was 20 years old when he was born.
Okay.
So he was between my mama's house and her mama's house, and she and I both were in college.
Okay.
And then when I moved down here to Atlanta, I learned more. But overall, every graduation that I've ever had, my son, who's 27, has always been there. because I wanted him to always see what achievement was about.
Absolutely.
The 27-year-old.
Yes.
Okay.
And he ended up going to my undergrad.
Okay.
And graduating from there, playing football and things of that nature. He would have pledged if the chapter was right.
Right.
But overall, the main thing
play
is
the alpha?
no, never that, man. Never that. Never that.
The shade.
My bad. I just asked, man. I didn't know you said you gonna pledge. You didn't
look.
specify.
Do you see what's behind me?
I wasn't looking at that. I was looking at that gold letters on the shirt. I missed that part. My bad.
Yeah, but this ain't black and old gold. This is green and gold.
That's a good comeback. Yeah, hey, that's exactly how we go at it in the office every doggone day. He been so, and I'm sure this is so. Did y'all hear what he said? He said he had a 30-year-old daughter, a 27-year-old son, and here it is. Tomorrow, Caleb will be 3 years old. Doc, how old are you? I know women don't like to ask the age, but I'm gonna ask you, how old are you?
Well, the thing is that I always tell women, I ask how young are you? I never ask them how old they are. But the thing is when knowledge and wisdom comes into point, men should be always cool with telling folks how seasoned they are. Yeah. I'm 47. I'll be 48 this month.
48 with a 3-year-old.
Yes. I have a question.
Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
You talked about that you had a 30-year-old daughter that you didn't know was your daughter until she was 20. Although you can't get any of that time back, what changed once you found out about that? Because of course, as the topic say, with or without the parent, we still have to be parents. So what happened at that particular point? What did you do differently to not regain, but to move forward as her father now? Or did you do anything? Did she accept?
Oh, absolutely. Once she wrote my mother a letter, and then when I got the letter, my mother brought a picture to me. All it took was for me to look into that young lady's eyes and know I could go take a DNA test, but I don't need one. Wow. That's my daughter. And we did it just for the sake thereof. Because the thing is that, but I stepped in because if I raised other children via relationships I had been in and been a father figure when their father was absent, and I've raised great kids to become phenomenal and extraordinary adults, then I not only owe that to my own daughter, but the thing is I had to come in full-fledged. I mean, that was without a doubt. And at first it was a little much for her because the thing is she had never known. She was actually, unfortunately, in foster care prior to that.
Really?
So, because her mother had gone through some things in her life. Okay. And the biggest part about that is I tell folks, it's a testimony. It's about being transparent. But I came in with full love, and she had never known what the true love of a man was like.
Wow.
And it was my obligation as her father. I don't even like saying biological father, as her father, to come full-fledged into that. And when I'm looking at nothing but a female version of me, she's my twin, and came in with that. And it was a little hot in that point in the beginning. And of course, naturally, her friends and other folks were in her ear. Your dad is a doctor. Your dad is this, that, and the other. You should do this. And we had to come quick with a conversation on that. Mm-hmm. My goal is that if you call for me and I answer the call, then we are father and daughter, and not as a sponsor and someone who needed that.
Right. Yeah. So let me ask you something. What did you said you came in full-fledged? Because we have a similar experience. Trust me. What did full-fledged look like when you said you came in full-fledged?
I immediately, once I found out everything, was to talk to her. Number one. Okay. Make sure I made a phone call within a matter of weeks. I mean, just for her sake and for the idea of the validation, the blood test was done. Everything was done. So 99.9938623 point me.
999.
So definitely, huh?
Absolutely.
So
I remember it down to, I can take it to the further decimal points, but they take it out that far. So me. So once that took place, she was in Greensboro, North Carolina. I put her on an airplane. I didn't want to get in the car because I didn't want anything else. I said, you've never been in an airplane before. So I'm gonna put you on an airplane and bring you to Atlanta. I stood at the top of those escalators there in Atlanta and I watched her come up and I walked beside her. And she didn't even know. She knew what I looked like and I knew what she looked like. But the thing is, I walked just enough distance away, kind of like where the men pick you up that are going to be the ones driving your car. I just watched her and I walked and I met her at the baggage claim. And I turned around. I said, honey. And she turned around and looked at me and we were right here with one another.
Wow.
And tears began to stream.
Out of your eyes too?
Yeah, man. I mean,
I'm about to do it. You're about to get mine right now. So
when you look into your daughter's eyes, man, you know how it is. I mean, that's the thing. You looking right into your own spirit.
That's
right.
Your
own soul.
Oh wow, ran to your own spirit. That's deep. Ran to your own spirit. So let's unpack the dynamic of that relationship before we move to Caleb. Okay. Now you of course I'm learning this. I want all of the listeners to know that this conversation is totally organic. We haven't discussed any of this. Have we talked about any of this, Doc? Okay.
Not at all. Not
so
at all.
So this is totally organic. So this is what I want to ask you right here. Now, with her reaching out, or y'all finally coming into contact or communication with one another, and her mother having her share of challenges, as you said, because you said she was in foster care. I don't know how long or how many years she was in foster care, but a lot of times when a father, because you can't really be penalized for what you don't know. You didn't know you had a child. If you had known you had a child all these years, of course, I'm sure that child would have been with you, the kind of man that you are. Absolutely. But a lot of times what happens, Jimmy and Ashton, I'm sure you can attest to this, because there's not a man in the house, that child is so poisoned against the ideology and the personhood of a father that they've grown so bitter towards what represents a father. And when they finally meet that father, they're so overcome with emotions, they're so upset that they don't know how to really, that relationship is almost damaged, if you will, before it gets started. Doc, how did that work with your regard? Had she been poisoned in any way mentally regarding who you were or why you weren't there or anything of the sort of that nature?
Well, she never did. It was that way towards me, but her relationship with men prior to me were horrible.
Okay.
I mean,
talk about that a little bit more.
It was terrible because, I mean, unfortunately, her mom she had been in a situation where she had been touched.
Wow.
She had been in a situation where relatives had been around her and had been by her and touched her. So, I mean, to hear those things as a father and knowing that something that happened to your daughter, man, it eats you up on the inside. And I told her, I said, that would never happen to you again, not under my watch. So, I mean, gratefully, in that sense, she didn't have a tainted, vision of who I am. But overall, the biggest part about it was like raising, even though at that time she was 20, it was like finding her in a place where she was 10.
Wow.
Mentally, because no one had really stimulated her mind to understand what a father looked like. All she knew was a foster dad, or all she knew was a foster mom, which she called mom because her relationship with her mother wasn't great. Because her mother went through some periods of addiction and some other things. So it was tough. And, coming in, as you said, like, you were asking about coming in full-fledged. And the thing is, of course, wanted to take her to a basketball game, take her to the zoo, taking her to, a play, taking her to these things that I know that, any father would love to do with his daughter as she's growing and developing into a woman. Because the thing is that, as I always explain to men, and especially when I have the opportunity to speak to young ladies, even from your daughter's age, Kennedy's age, the first true love affair that a woman ever has, and it's not no freaky dicky stuff.
No, right. With a father.
The first true love affair is with her father.
Absolutely.
And how she understands courtship, how she understands the idea of being respected and being loved and being cared for by a man, it comes from her father.
Mm.
And let me say this here, for one thing about it. When young girls don't know who their father is, they gonna want to know. They gonna get to the age where it's gonna be some questions. The one thing little girls want to know is, who is my dad? And they gonna get old enough where they gonna ask questions and want to find out. And that you can just get ready for that.
Oh, absolutely.
One of the statements that you made, Doctor, it's pronounced Flight. Is that how you pronounce it?
Flight.
Okay.
Yes, indeed.
Everybody call him Dr. Kevin, though. You just call him Dr. Kevin. He goes by Dr. Kevin.
Yeah, that's fine. Either way.
You so bossy, James.
No, I'm just so you want
so bossy.
Well, I mean, hey, you know how, whatever. Hey,
listen,
whatever.
One of the things that you I guess I'm just kind of in awe, listening to you. But one of the things that you said, it made me think about I think that was you that said that the first relationship that a female has, intimate, not freaky deaky. So, was that you, James?
No, that was Dr. Kevin. That was Dr. Kevin.
Okay, with their that they have is with their father, and I feel like a lot of men need to know that or realize that the first romantic, the first love that a girl ever has most of the time is with their dad. So they need to make sure that they take those times out to show their daughters what real love looks like, so that whenever they get out into the open, that some little knucklehead won't be in essence wooing them out of their drawers because I done told you that I loved you, or what you should expect, the opening of the doors, taking her out on dates, and those type of things. So I think that it was real interesting to hear you say, because a lot of people don't say it. And I don't even think a lot of men realize it sometimes, that the girls need those things. They need those things, because if you set the bar high here, then when somebody else comes in, they either have to come up here or they got to go higher, because my dad has already taught me this is what I should expect from a man. And if you can't at least give me that,
that's good.
Then, we can't talk about it.
That's good.
That's
good. That's good. That's good. And so, Doc, going a little bit farther now, you found her, you've had a chance to meet her face to face. I know you, so I know you're gonna assess and analyze. I know that's the first thing you're gonna do. I know you're gonna, because you're a man, and that's what most men do. We're gonna assess the situation and we're gonna look at it analytically. And then we're going to try to figure out what the game plan is going forward. So you have a 20-year-old broken young lady who is your seed, who is your daughter. You missed years. You probably could have saved her from a lot of heartache, especially because if you had known there's no way in the hell she would have been in a foster family. So tell me this. What did those first 3 years look like when she came into your life, and now it's Kevin and daughter? What did those first 2 1, 2, and 3, what did they look like?
Well, year one was like it was like raising a child all over again. Oh, wow. I mean, trying to get that connection, to find that bond, to be able to have that communication. I mean, you buy her a car, you try to look out for her to make sure she's good, you try to feel her out. And then year two was that next point, expectations from her started kicking in, because other folks were in her ear.
Okay.
In that point. So year three, it was a battle and a chore.
Okay.
Because the thing is that, I had to come to realization that, that's my little girl, but she's grown. She's grown. And she's experiencing things in life that I didn't approve of, and I hate to say it, but in this day and time and with these generations, they experience a whole lot of stuff.
Right.
In relationships. And I mean, just being realistically, the enemy is always busy. And we talking about relationships with women and men.
Oh, wow.
So, I'm battling this concept, and she's telling me about the situation she's been in her life. And I'm like, man, I was feeling seeds of guilt, because the thing is that I'm like, I could have sheltered her from that. I could have kept her away from that if I had only known. And there was a bitterness in my heart for a little while, because the thing is like, why didn't her mother tell me? But that's because her mother I remember as a young man, there was an older guy tipping up to the house just like I was tipping up to the house. So I mean, I'm just saying.
Right.
We didn't.
You're in safe territory. You can just tell the truth. You're in safe territory. Trust me.
Didn't know. I didn't know. And and then as a kid, I mean, he was the same lighter complexion man, the same curly hair, the same everything else. So I mean, I guess it was an easier picture to be it off onto that. But that was a married man with a
Oh
family of
wow.
his own.
Oh wow.
So we look at these situations, and I tell folks, a lot of times the thing is that we have children, but we don't know the story unless they're there every day. That's why now at this phase in my life, hey man, you and I talk. I'm busting hump to trying to make sure that I'm doing it the right way, the right time, i.e., the right way in every way that I can this time around.
Okay, and we're gonna get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
Let's stay here for a hot second.
Yeah.
Okay, so she's 20.
Yes.
So by this time you've been raising your son.
Yes.
For 13 years at least, 13, 14 years, right? Well, no, 17 years almost.
17.
Yeah, because they're 3 years apart. So 17 years, right?
Yeah, they're 3 years and 3 days.
Huh?
They're 3 years and 3 days apart. January 9th.
How was he affected by his new sister?
He was excited because he didn't have a sister.
Okay.
And then to this day, I mean, you would have thought they were brought up together.
Okay.
I mean, they have that kind of relationship, which is good. I mean, and it's excellent. I mean, she calls him baby brother because she's never had a baby brother.
Gotcha.
And then on the other side of it, I mean, the thing is that, she's the annoying big sister to him. So it just is what it is. I mean, but yes.
Were you involved with, were you married at the time? You're married now, right?
Married now.
Okay. Were you married so you weren't married at the time?
No, ma'am. I was 17 and 20 years old. To my son's mom,
Okay.
I was engaged. We were engaged. So we had planned on getting married after we, got out of college or when we graduated from college, because there was only a year of college between the two of us at the time. So,
so I guess my question for that is, did you have the support from her, or did you, was your village solid at that time? Let me say that, to be able to help you navigate through this newfound daughter, in essence, and be able to blend that with your family, or did you have to kind of make a choice?
Well, no, I didn't. At that time, she and I had parted ways, long before. So basically, at that time, regardless of when I found out, with my son, being in college, and then I was in grad school, I still had him during the summers. I still kept that time with him. We never got bitter with one another. So the thing is, when she went on and had a couple of other sons herself, and the thing is that, I was always in his life. I mean, I would fly from Atlanta to North Carolina to be there with him. I would drive whatever time I had to be on a Friday night football game.
Okay.
Okay. So.
And that's the topic tonight, parenting with or without a partner. So even though you all had, even though your relationship didn't work, that's the way to say that. Even though your relationship didn't work, you did not allow that to affect your dynamic as a father.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Never that. He was born on my father's birthday, and that's why, and I, that was a God sent child to me. I mean, in that sense, from the get-go, before I ever found out anything. But overall, the main thing is, I knew the upbringing that I had, I knew the upbringing that she had, and I knew where I was coming from in that point as a father figure. And I swore to him, no matter what, I was never going to leave him.
Wow.
And, in that sense, so regardless of relationship, we still kept things cordial. We still maintained things. I mean, when he was messing up in school, I was the first phone call. Okay. Anything of that nature.
That's good. That's good. All right, so let's go. Let's get to this whole parenting the second time around thing, because Doc got a 30-year-old, got a 27-year-old, and I know Doc. Me and Doc had some conversations, all this kind of stuff, man. We were me and Doc boys. You know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden, Doc got a baby. I mean, a newborn baby, man. And, and me being, divorced in the last few years, you decide, hey, do you get remarried? Yeah, he does know his biological father. He said his father passed away when he was 17 years old. So he knew his father, grandfather, all those types of people. But with that being said, what was I saying? What was I saying, Ashley, before I stopped and answer that question? Oh, yeah. So I know him. Yeah. Newborn baby. I mean, he's 45, 46 when this baby is born. That means he's going to be 63.
Is you going to have another baby?
Yeah. I said, if I get no, I didn't say that. No, I said, if I got divorced, I rebuke that in Jesus' name. But I say it is getting a divorce and then thinking about getting another relationship. You know, do you want to get in a relationship with someone your age? And if you don't, you know, you're attracted to somebody a little bit younger. And then if they're younger, then you got to look at the fact, do they have children? And if they don't have children, are you willing at 47, 48, 49 to give them another child? Because I mean, me personally, I'm 49 years old. So if I mess around with someone in their mid-30s, first of all, I got to like them. Then I got to start loving them. Then I would have to marry them. Then we had to make a baby. So we look at least 51. So I'm not getting to be 67, 68 years old, pulling up no baby to no graduation. And they want to catch an Uber.
And you'll hover around.
Yeah, I'm gonna get you back for that one. But my kid be wanting to Uber to school because they don't want their daddy to be too old, you know, trying to drop them off at school.
You don't want to say, why your granddaddy always dropping you off?
Why your granddaddy always dropping you off, you know, because the parent, because average age of these parents is like totally different. You know what I'm saying? So, Doc, here you are, right? And what are some of the advantages based on the differences of raising that 27-year-old, even though y'all were in separate households, and you've been doing well for a while because you've been I know you're solid financially and because you're a doctor, all those type of things. I'm not trying to tell you your business. I'm not trying to tell you business, but I understand because a lot of people don't have that luxury. But as a father at 47, parenting the second time around, what are some of the advantages of what you know now versus then?
Well, you know, I'm going to cut you in something right then. You said pastoring, and then you corrected you said parenting. Well, parenting now is like pastoring.
It is.
Because the thing is that now at this phase of my life, I know a lot more and have been through a lot of heartache and struggle and strife via the other situations that I've learned now too. You know, the thing is that coming into this now he was born when I was 45. So you're looking at that and I'm like, my God, before I came up here, I mean, I'm in that daddy, you want to race? You want to play? And I've been working all day. You saw me in the office today.
I mean, the thing
yes. So I mean, the thing is,
you gotta get them legs rolling.
You got to get them moving. So I mean, that's it. There is no.
Wow.
So I mean, and you know, the thing is that this is the time when I've really understood, truthfully and honestly, what Proverbs 22:6 is talking about. Train up a child in the way he should go. He, when he's old, he's not going to depart from it. So the thing is that that's the thing that I constantly keep in my head. I have to train this soldier. This is my legacy. And
now did you have that mentality? You got that mentality. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I want to ask this right here. You have that mentality at 47, but did you have that mentality at 27?
No. Because the thing is that back then, I was broke and tired and in school and trying to figure out my own life.
That's what I wanted to hear right there.
I was broke and tired and in school, and I was trying to find a way to make sure I had something, and for me to bust my hump, for me to show him that he can do anything.
Okay.
You know, because my father, before he died, he always told me one thing: don't you ever be like me. You be greater than me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So do you feel like now this is like I know this is the second time around with having a younger child. So is this like my I don't want to say project, but like this is my time to get it right. I got them all, not saying that you got them wrong, but I got them wrong in essence the first two times. So now I'm gonna do whatever do you find yourself being more harder on yourself this time because you felt like you didn't do some of the things right with your first two children?
I'm learning actually this time I am a little tighter on myself, but overall I'm learning to enjoy the moment.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy the moment, because the thing is that, you know, here it is again. You looking at my dad died when he was 52. And I had that programmed in my head for a while when Caleb was first born. Man, I don't have long. But then I had to catch myself because I'm like, you know, the power of life and death is in the tongue. So I need to stop talking about that. I need to stop looking for the end and start focusing on every second and minute and enjoying it while it can and catching those moments as they come, and not trying to put it in a microwave kind of profile in my brain that I have to do this, and this, because you lose the fun aspect of it. You lose that connection. And that's what I was doing back then, even as a youngster, because things are like, I got to be a doctor. I got to do this. I have to get through this. I got to do that.
Yep.
And I'm like, I didn't enjoy my life.
Wow.
And I really didn't get the chance to truly enjoy my son. And then, if my daughter had been around, I wouldn't have been able to truly enjoy her because I was so hyper focused on what I had to do. Now I'm in a better place and more prepared to do what I need to do.
Right.
And that's important to me,
And you know what, man, and I want to drop this in here as well. And those that are in the chat, I appreciate you all. Like I said, please, ma'am, please, sir, share this thread. It's some good information. Doc, you almost had me crying a minute ago, but I think I've weathered that storm, so I'm gonna be all right on that regard right there. This is one thing that we don't do in the African American community that a lot of people do in other communities, and that is planning their children. Jawanza Kunjufu suggests, he's an African American child psychologist, very world renowned. He suggests that we should wait, and we don't do this, but he said we should wait until we're 28 years old to have our first child. He said that we should have 2 children and that they should be 4 years apart. So that way you don't have 2 in college at the same time. He said that would be the perfect formula. Number one, to be 28 years old. That means you've had time to traditionally get out of college, because we usually get out of college, what, about 22, 21, 22. If you get a master's degree, you use about 24, 25. But you're typically in your career at least by 25, 26. So 24, 25. So if you've gotten married and now you have gotten married, you give you about 26, somewhere around that range. And then they give you a couple of years together. Now, so because most of us don't plan, then we kind of end up, like you said, Doc, with children and still trying to make it through the hustle and bustle of life, struggling to pay child care. Because child care was $150 a week when my children were young, and that was 17 years ago. So I can only imagine how much child care is now. So it's super, super hard to raise a child when you already have strains, namely financial strains, and you're trying to cultivate, build, and protect your relationship, and you still have to affect the relationship with this child and make sure that this child is being reared properly. So now at 47, Doc, with a little bit better portfolio, and and a much stronger level head, does it make it easier to raise children? Does it make it easier? And I think is that a good question? I guess that's a good question.
It is a good question. But I'm gonna tell you,
I know I'm organic. I told you.
Things have not gotten cheaper, unfortunately. So the thing is that you said child care. I mean, that's another thing. I mean, when you got 2 working parents, but then overall, the main thing, if you want your child to, kids start young in school now. It's no longer waiting till kindergarten.
No.
As a matter of fact, wait till kindergarten, they're behind. So,
too late, yeah.
Caleb goes to school 3 days a week, and it's still in that point. I mean, with 3 days, I mean, that's still almost $250 just for 3 days. I mean, at that point, a week. So we're looking at what's that?
$1,000.
That's
I know John just say child care $600 a week. Let me tell y'all something. I'm 35, and I'm not. Look, I don't have to have another child.
Well, well, the thing is that I look at it, in this point now. At that time, I thought long and hard about it, and my buddies asked me, "Why did you do it? Why did you do it, man?" And you had an out. This was your time to enjoy your life. I said, "Well, I guess it define what's enjoying your life.
Enjoying your life, right?"
I've been coming home to a nice home. Let me put it this way: let me break it down in a simple point. Coming home to a house for many years.
Wow.
And it was nice. It's a nice home, a nice house, but I wanted it to become a home.
Okay.
And I never got a chance to raise my children in my home. And then on the other side of it, if I died tomorrow, my other kids will get it, but they doing their own thing. that's the point. So now with this 3-year-old, I get a chance to live and experience a day-to-day deal with my son. Now, when we talk about mama, I love my wife. I love my wife. But do we get along every day? No. That's just being transparent. And there are days that are hard and tough. We just got through year 1 of marriage. I put the cart before the horses. So the thing is that realistically, we having a child does not, secure all aspects of greatness, but it does bring some great parts into the situation. And I enjoy that. I mean, I'll share a simple point of what it is. And I know James keep talking about me being a doctor, and we're talking financial. I make a sacrifice. Instead of doing greater things for myself, which I still have done well over the years for myself, now I get to do something greater for my son. And listening to those, which our community does not talk about most often, is establishing a financial legacy for your children's children.
That's right.
That's what the word talks about.
That's right.
So the thing is that now I am in a mindset that I wasn't in when I was 26, 27, that I can actually do that and start establishing that. So every $100 cash bill that comes through my office, I come home and I hand it over to my son.
Oh, wow.
And that is amazing to me. And I thank God for being able to be fortunate. It's not every week that there's a lot of those, but it doesn't matter. I hand it over to him and say, son, this is a seed into your life. And the same way that I sow seeds into the community, into the other children, young children, because I'm on some nonprofit boards that are basically working with children in the hood. I sow seed into their lives too. Because a legacy is a legacy, and we want to see these kids grow up into being something. The unfortunate thing, a lot of things, as an older parent at this point, we can have the opportunity to do that. But then too, our mindset is different than the generation that's out there now.
Okay.
A lot of times now, it's the little children are raising the grown children.
Wow.
Which is unfortunate, because the thing is that I enjoy coming home watching Sesame Street.
Right.
But your 30-plusers and then 30, 35, or even the late 20s that are coming out, they coming home watching what they want to on their phone.
Exactly.
And handing the other phone over to the child.
That's true. That's right. That's true. That's true. That's true. Jimmy, what you going to say? You going to ask him something a second ago?
Yes,
No, I just wanted to just to add. I'm listening to his story, and he's more. His life is very interesting, and it's more of a redemptive work that he's doing right now that he didn't get a chance to do, that he always wanted to do.
Absolutely.
You see what I'm saying? And so that's a blessing, because it's not many African American men today. And I heard you say what was very important. Your grandfather and your father was in your life.
Yes.
You know what a real male, alpha male looks like in the house.
Yes, sir. That's key.
You see what I'm saying? And it carried over. Look, now watch this. He had kids out of wedlock. He had kids during difficult time. He kicked it. He could have did like a lot of African American men, neglect the child. It was just something I did in college. Had a baby. I wasn't tripping. But listen, the thing was, he knew what parenting. He knew what a father looked like. And that played a role later on down when the Bible says, train up a child in the way they should go, and when they depart, they'll come back. What the training part is the child seeing the lifestyle of the parent.
That's it.
That's the training.
Yes, sir.
And that's what's so powerful about that, Doc. And I'm glad we got a chance to have this conversation, because now I think it'll take our relationship to another level. So you only had your father, and I ain't gonna say only, but you had your father in your life for 17 years. And those 17 years was impactful enough,
right,
to carry you through the rest of your life. I mean, at least to who you are now, and to make sure that you're there, because he was there for you. You were his. You said, I heard you say he was your hero at that time, and now you have been given the same opportunity to be a hero in a young man's life that's growing. Now, I want to shift a little bit and take this question to. I want to ask a question, Doc. You gonna hang around for a few minutes, because we're gonna continue. Okay.
Before you go to your question, what you just said as far as him giving back goes back to what Jimmy was stating, that when we have those missing pieces of people who don't have fathers in their lives, you become mentors. And so because Dr. Kevin had someone in his life, he knows what it is. Just like you said, he knows what it is to have somebody in his life. So why not give that back to other people? Because he could have been one of those ones who didn't have anybody. So before we go any further, we thank you for that. Jimmy, we thank you as well, because people don't have to take time out of their schedules to give back to somebody else's child.
Right.
And it's just as simple.
Thank you.
All right, so here's a question, and this question is, and those, like I said, those in the chat, please keep sharing, keep liking. Let's get some more people. But here's a question I want to ask, and this is for everybody. This is for Ashley, Doc, and for Jimmy. Does this generation raise their children differently because they resent how their parents raised them? Do you think that that a lot of what the way, and people in the chat, I want y'all to answer this as well, because I want to go ahead and get us involved in this, get us involved in this conversation with Dr. Kevin. He's sharing some very, very good information. He's being super, super transparent tonight. So I want to ask this question again. Does this generation raise their children differently because they resent how their parents raised them? I'm gonna be quiet and let y'all answer this. Ash, I'm gonna start with you on that one. What do you think?
I'll speak for me personally. I raised my child differently, not because I resent the way my mother and my father raised me. It's more so our children deal with different things in this day and age that we didn't necessarily have to deal with growing up. Also, one thing I did not like, I resent. Saying resent is a strong word. Has a different meaning to what I have. I don't feel like our parents listened to us enough. It was almost like we couldn't have an opinion. It was do what I tell you to do. And so for me, I try to allow my child to she's a human being. She has an opinion. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm gonna go with your opinion, but I will hear you out. And so that is one thing that I do differently than what my parent did. I do feel like that I cannot do some of the things that or parent the way my mother parented, because there are a lot of things that our kids are experiencing that I wouldn't have ever thought that I would have had to experience in life. So that's my 2 cents.
What do you think? Go ahead, Ash. You finished?
I was gonna say, I don't know if they answered your question or not, but I'm not resentful of my mother. I'm thankful. I had my first child at 20. I had graduated high school early. Was in college. If I had to listen just a little bit more, I probably wouldn't have had a kid at 20. But I was thankful that she did instill some things in me to keep me on track and to get me to where I was. So yeah, I don't resent any of her tutelage.
And I'm gonna be honest, I don't use that term loosely when I say resent, because some people really do resent.
Absolutely,
I have some things, like I said. I mean, like for instance, my stepmother. I was raised by my stepmom and my dad for the most part, and my stepmom was super, super strict. And I found out later she was strict because her dad was strict, and so she would do things that we didn't. Like for instance, she was one that believed to make you eat everything on your plate. I mean that you didn't sit down, you didn't eat all your plate. But I remember when we would go out and eat seafood, we would eat shrimp and all these. I remember going to the hibachi restaurant, Dr. Kevin. I ain't even order shrimp. I didn't even order shrimp because I didn't like shrimp. Okay. But if the hibachi chef put the shrimp on my plate, she made me eat it because it was on my plate. Now, I threw up every time I would eat the shrimp. From the age of 8 to 11, every time I ate I learned to hate boiled shrimp. But her rule was you ate everything on your plate. Well, how come when I went to the allergy clinic at 11 years old, guess what my biggest allergy was?
Shrimp. Let me ask you a question. Do you feel as though your father didn't protect you in that aspect, considering.
We've had a conversation about that. Yeah,
me and you talked.
No, I'm saying you asked me a question. Yes, me and my father had a conversation about that. I answered the question. Yeah, I answered the question. Yeah, me and my father have had a conversation about that. Yes.
Because see, go ahead, James.
There were things that she did. I mean, I remember, like, for instance, I used to beg. I said earlier in the conversation, I didn't get whoopings. I used to beg for whoopings. Please whoop me, because the whooping lasts 5 minutes. But if I came home with a C, I remember times that I would have to go stay in my room for 9 weeks until I got that grade up. That means I came home. So yes, there were things that my parents did, and I'm not throwing them under the bus because I love them to death. But there were things that they did in their style of raising me that caused me resentment that I wouldn't do to my children. I promise I probably didn't spank my children 5 times between all 3 of them. And they wasn't bad kids anyway. But I raised them differently because of some things that I had been through. What were you going to say, Jimmy? Because we were in the middle of it.
No. I was just going to confirm what you were saying is that when we experience trauma in some certain way or shape or fashion, we don't know that it affects how we deal with a child or somebody close to us, how it affects us as we deal with them. You see what I'm saying? Because what that did, and it caused you to not put as much pressure on your kids in certain areas.
Not at all.
You see what I'm saying? And I'm gonna tell you another thing. Like in today's where we're having a problem is that a lot of times, not all, but a lot of times we try to be too. We try to be too. You my child. You're not my friend. We're not friends like that. It's a lot of that going on today. It's so bad that you want me to be able to tell you everything. So you try to be my friend so you can confide in me. Well, if you're not real and transparent, I'm not going to confide in you anyway. You see what I'm saying? So it's a lot of parents, single parents trying to be friends with the child, and it backfires because what's going to happen is when you get into it with that child ain't going to respect you.
You're going to lose it.
Right.
James, put the comment up for that John Wilson put up. I mean that yeah. Now I don't know if you want me to read it. What is this new black that you got on here?
What new black? The black screen?
Yes.
You can't read it? Hold on, let me help you out. There you go.
There we go. That's for the young guy right there.
I'm trying new things.
Help the elderly, James.
Help the elderly, please, sir. Please.
The youngest one on the scene can't. She got a 34 5 on. Go ahead.
So it says, James, I wouldn't use resent, but I'm allowing my children to share their space. I see now that my parents' ways were only following. My parents were only following what was taught by their own family's knowledge to teach them.
Oh yeah, I get it. But I'm not speaking for nobody else. I'm speaking for me. I had resentment. I mean, I'm not using that term loosely at all. I based on some things that I went through, I had some, and I'm not the only one. I was in Walmart one day, and I've told this story to Jimmy a few times. And it was this little girl. It was this girl. She had to be 19, 20 years old, 20, 21 years old. She had a little 2 or 3 year old. And the little boy was trying to touch some candy. And she was just jerking him and yelling at him and cussing at him and going off. And I stood in. I said, hey, stop talking to him like that. You don't talk to me like that. That's my baby. All that kind of stuff. I said, yeah, you keep talking like that, but you're going to raise him to hate everybody that look just like you. And the very moment he get a chance to retaliate, he going to retaliate on somebody because he can't retaliate with you because you're his mama. But somebody that look like you, he going to go upside her head. And he ain't going to take it off nobody else because you don't realize sometimes you're creating, as Jimmy says, a certain trauma inside of them. And sometimes that seed might not show up for 15, 20 years, all those kind of things. But when it shows up, it comes out. Doc, you never got a chance to weigh in on that question. What do you think? Do you think that we raise our children differently?
Well, yes. I mean, the thing is, you hit it on top of the head right then, too, also. It's because the thing is that you never know when that trauma might come up. Because overall, it might not come up on another little girl in class. It might not come up. It might mess around later on and turn around back on mama.
Right.
Yep.
And when that teenage boy shakes the life out of mama up in the house one time,
You need to go
because
to
now he's
sleep.
6'4" and whatever else, then the
Yep.
thing, and then she a little bit elated, then what's gonna happen then? Because then he's been holding that back for so long. See, the thing is, like Asher made something in a clear point. Back then, we couldn't really express ourselves because what you say, what you
Yeah.
doing, what's
Yep.
this the other, or if you say what, you got your mouth full. I mean, you catching a hand, you catching something,
Quickly.
But this day and age, number one is the thing is we can't put our hands on our children like our parents put their hands on us because we're going to jail.
Right.
Then the next thing is these kids use that to their advantage because the thing is they go to school or every time there's a little small something that goes on, you're gonna have defects at your door.
Quickly.
So we have been inhibited in such a way that we can't raise our children quite like our parents did. But then too, it's hard to employ a true hard, firm concept to them a lot of times because the rest of the kids in their classes aren't getting it. So the thing is that they're looking at you like you got 3-4 heads or you the enemy more than they are looking at as your adversary. And the point of just saying, hey, I'm here for you. I'm trying to show you something. But I heard from a teacher, as James, I study all kinds of things. From a guru in India called Sadhguru today. I was listening to him for a little while, and every day I try to expand my knowledge in such a way so I can be a better parent. But he was like, he made something clear. He was like, children are yours, yes, but they're walking souls and spirits that have to develop and grow on their own as well. Because you don't want to turn their personalities into your personality. Then on the next thing is you want to allow them an opportunity to where they can actually grow and develop and become who God intended them to become.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I had some resentment towards my mama for the longest time. Because the thing is, I couldn't sneeze, breathe, pass gas, cough, burp, nothing without getting, something coming. If it was the slightest offset tone, something was coming. But I had to go back and I had to look at the trauma that she had gone through with my grandparents.
That's right.
And what that point, and she was doing what she knew. And then I'm glad now with the son now at this phase in the game, I'm firm on him, and he's almost 3. And there's times but I never come tight on him without explaining to him. Even my wife said, "Why do you talk to him in such a way?" I said, "Honey, he's a man in the making. You have to understand this."
That's right.
That's good.
He's not a little boy per se. Y'all want to still treat him as a baby. He was a baby, but now he's walking and he's talking. He's a man in the making.
Exactly.
So if I'm not a man with him, how is he going to ever learn to identify what manhood is when his time has come about for him to be in such a way? Exactly. And then if anything happens to me, then who is supposed to oversee things for you? So I'm kind of glad that my mother and my father were tight on me the way that they were back then, because a lot of times I would have succumbed to the neighborhood,
streets.
Yeah, singing, selling dope, or doing something.
Right.
Back in the day. I mean,
like
it's already tight enough to the point where I was exploring the world enough that I had a child at 17.
Wow.
And 20. So you're looking at. So it's just the thing is now is that we have to remind them, as brother said, is in the point of that, that they're not our friends. We have to draw that fine line in there.
That's right. That's right.
I'm not your friend. I'm your father. But I want you to know that I'm always a friend indeed in the time when you're confused and you're lost. So I don't want you to go out into the world seeking what it is that I have to offer you. And then that's a different ball of wax these days for us.
It sounds like everybody is saying we just got to have some balance.
Yes, and it's all about boundaries too.
Yes, balance and boundaries. That's correct.
Yes. Dr. Ken, I got a question. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I
have a question as it relates to the tight knitness that you say that you had, and then that you're now imposing on your son in your tutelage as he grows up. What are your views as it relates to being able to have an emotional side?
Oh, all day, every day. My wife gives me grief. Why are you crying in front of him? Why do you shed a tear? A man is not a man unless he's not afraid and not ashamed to shed a tear in front of another man. A man should always feel comfortable enough to when his emotions are there and they're available and they're you don't suck that back up. That's poison to me. I know a lot of us have been taught, especially as men, don't show your emotions, don't cry. My father-in-law, for example, he didn't start shedding tears. And matter of fact, my mother-in-law and my wife's brothers said they never saw him shed a tear till my son was born.
Wow.
And the thing is that because I pulled him to the side and told him from the get-go, your job now is to be not the grandfather, but the other father. Because the thing is, if anything ever happens to me, I need you to come and love on him like I love on him. Because you never showed that. But then again, we talk about trauma from childhood. He was an orphan. So he didn't know what things were like. So the thing is, I watch as, my brother-in-laws and the rest of them are watching and seeing, even my wife, the hardness that might be there. Because they were never shown that point that it's okay to show your emotions. My son, I would always tell him, even my other son, even my daughter, I would tell them, your heart is the strongest thing in your body. It ain't your brain. It's your heart.
Wow.
And that's good. That's good. I wanted to ask that question because I know we've had several conversations here and even amongst ourselves about how people make it seem as though men can't, number one, be vulnerable, but they just have to kind of suck it up. They're supposed to be strong. They're not supposed to cry. They're not supposed to this and they're not supposed to that because that's not what men do. So I just wanted to hear your views, your points of views on that. Especially after you made the statement as far as being, really tight. I'm not gonna say you said hard on him, but
but firm. I mean, we want to be firm because the thing is, but it's still in the point of teaching in the process. Right. I tell you, never want. I mean, I hate to just be real, but you got to think about it. Sometimes our parents beat the hell out of us and then talk to you later on.
Right.
Yeah.
Or during it.
Or during. Yeah. And then you want them to shut up because they're gonna beat you for every word.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You can't do that no more.
But see, that's a part of that's a part of men not being emotionally available today.
Right.
As a result of that, because we were never taught. And see, this is what's so crazy about this. It's a scripture in the Bible that says Jesus wept. Now you got the epitome of a man.
Yes.
The epitome
of
man.
You better come on today, sir.
You see that? And so this is it's so oxymoronic that the Bible says Jesus wept. It's okay for a man to cry. That's what the scripture meant, but we twisted it through religion, and now through our family and the way we raise our kids, and now we get men who are effeminate, or they can't express their emotion because they are been emasculated or they hadn't been able to and black men have a problem. We don't know how to express. We know what we want to say, but we don't know how to say it unless there's too much emotion. Right. We get mad first. We get mad because we don't know how to convey what we're trying to say, and then our women that we love, we give them hell because we leave it to them to try to figure our crazy self out, and that's not right. African American men need to learn how to just say what you mean and say what it is, and quit lying and quit giving all these roundabout ways and making these women go through all these processes of trying to understand that. But again, it goes back to how we were raised. It never fails that the breakdown of the village is where everything begins.
That's Lady Karen said something earlier. She was talking about balance and boundaries with our children. She said she was at least 40 years old before she ever heard a cuss word come out of her parents' mouth. I know for a fact that my dad would drink, but he never drank beer out of a beer can in front of me. He would always pour it in a plastic cup and then go his separate way to drink because he didn't want me to see him drinking beer or anything of the sort. But so many of us do things like, man, we ride down the street listening to some of this trap music with all these cuss words in it, and our children in the back of your seat listen to the same cuss words, singing the song along with you. And then they, when they go to school and cuss, and then the teacher call and say something about it, then you want to go off on the child for cussing at school, but you let him cuss in the music. I just don't. How do you expect the child to know the difference or what the boundaries are? Jim and I talked about this the other day. Y'all remember back in the day when mom and daddy and all their friends would have a card party?
Oh yeah.
When they had a card party, where all the kids go?
In another room with the door closed. With the door
closed.
And get checked on every periodically.
If we wanted to go to the bathroom, we had to knock on the door, wait on an adult to come open the door, and then ask if we could go to the bathroom. Y'all didn't do it like that? I mean, ask, did your generation do it like that?
It was
listen,
just like
my
that.
folks ran a whole gambling house. And
mine did too.
Listen, and dice tables and all. If you came up out there, really, when you came over there, it was so late, you need to be getting ready for bed.
Right.
Everybody's in here in the bed and don't think you finna come out. You're not gonna be, even with my daughter growing up, I'm from the country, so it's a little, I'm not gonna say it's a little different, but it's a little different. Everybody's around everybody. And when my daughter was growing up and she would be with my aunt, people would get so mad at my aunt because they would say, "Well, you think that little girl is out there?" She said, "No, she don't need to be up in none of these men's faces. She don't need to be over here under us. What we doing? She needs to go over there where I told her to go. And y'all can say whatever it is that you want to say." So yeah, we wasn't allowed to be up in none of that.
That's boundaries. That's boundaries.
Boundaries.
Now kids looking over your shoulder be like, "You got two in the possible."
Yeah.
Right.
They're trying to tell you how to play your hand. And all that
they
kind
know
of
how to play Tonk and Peter Pan way better than some of the people sitting at the table.
I was playing spades at 6, 7 years old. I was playing spades early in life, but we played at the kids' table. And every now and then the family union, we might have got a chance to play with the adults. But for the most, and John, no, I'm pretty good at that spade game. But we had to go in a different room, and we were handled differently. We don't handle our children delicately enough. You remember when a child was young and you brought them home from the hospital. You didn't want anybody touching their hands, because if they touch their hands, they might put their hands in their mouth. You didn't want certain things. And sometimes people are dumb enough to literally go and grab a child by the hand, knowing that child about to put your hand in their mouth. You've never beat me. Don't say that. You know they going to put it in your mouth. You know they going to put it in their mouth. And you'll still do it anyway, right? I mean, they'll still do it anyway. But we're doing the same thing when we expose our children to certain types of music, where we allow them to watch certain things on TV. I was over one of my boys' house today, and he got teenage kids. They was back in the game. I guess they was in the back room playing the game. And boy, they was cussing like sailors, man. I laughed every time. You know what I'm saying? But I can't say nothing. Those his kids. You know what I'm saying? Now, if it had been my kids, then Dr. Connor would have probably been, probably would have been getting a copay, because they probably would have needed a dental plan, because they ain't been cussing around me like that. I'm gonna knock every teeth out of his mouth. Now he's grown now, so he can say what he want to say. All that kind of stuff. It's his choice, but I'm still his dad, and so he's gonna respect me a certain way.
But even as an adult, I'm 35. I don't curse in front of my mother. I didn't curse. I don't cuss in front of nobody else's mother either, because that's just me. And so I just think it's just whatever the level of respect it is that you have for that. My child better not walk up in here now time between 14 now and 21. I really would prefer that she not do it afterwards, but cursing in front of in front of your mother and anybody else that's an elder was disrespectful. It was disrespectful then. I still think it should be viewed as that, but everybody, mamas don't think like that.
Absolutely.
And another big issue today, you just can't leave your kid with anybody.
Oh, absolutely.
I remember when I was little, when I was young, I was dating a girl that stayed half a mile away from me. I would walk to her house and then walk back from her house to where I live, to my house, in the middle of the night. It could be 1, 2 o'clock. Y'all know when we was in love in junior high, how it went. So You could do that back then. You can't do that now. You can't walk down no street with somebody shooting at you or something. You can't leave one of these little girls at no bad other girl house and don't have no supervision, right? You don't know who that girl allowing at that house. This is where all this fondling and this molestation and this rape, all of this is going on right now as a result of the breakdown of the village and the family. I'm just telling you.
No, right. I mean,
go ahead. I was just messing with Jimmy when he was talking about you couldn't go over to folks' house. My daughter's trying to get me to meet somebody, mama, right now, because she said, I can't never go over none of my friends' house. I don't know these people. I don't know who they got over there.
See what I'm talking about?
I don't know none of that.
But you know what? We raised it's different, you know, because my ex-wife and I, we raised 3. We had a son, and then it was 4 years, then we had Kennedy, and then in 16 months, then we had Mackenzie. And we raised them totally different. Okay. Trey would be out till the street lights was at home, you know, till 7, 8 years old. He's out on his scooter over his friend's house in backyards, jumping on trampolines, playing ball, doing all that kind of stuff. Our little girls didn't even go down the street.
Oh, they just didn't do none of that. That ain't gonna happen.
And my ex-wife said, you damn sure wasn't gonna let none of them spend the night over nobody's house. It just wasn't gonna happen. Those girls wasn't spending the night over nobody, and we didn't want no little girl spending the night at our house either. You know what I'm saying? So it just was.
You couldn't go in the house. You couldn't go up in nobody. Like my daughter, I remember when we first moved we first bought our house, and it snowed, and my child came home, and she was like, "Mama, they want to know if I can come over such and such." No, I don't know them. Well, you can come and meet them right now. I said that still don't mean that I know them. I can just go in the house. I don't know them.
No, sir.
No. And I find myself, you know, my mom was like that. I find myself doing some of the things that my mom. Now I picked up some of the things that she did. Some of the things, you know, I use, and some of them I changed. I tweak a little bit. But for the most part, some of that stuff they gave us back was sound doctrine. Now
most of it was sound doctrine. Most of it was rooted in sound doctrine.
Yeah,
most of it was rooted in sound doctrine, as using that euphemism, saying the metaphor of saying sound doctrine.
Yeah,
it was rooted in sound doctrine, but some of it kind of escalated into abuse.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it kind of escalated into abuse. I was abused. Y'all tell everybody Kirklin was abused growing up. I ain't gonna lie, I'm crazy right now because of the way I was raised growing up, sitting in that damn room 9 weeks in a row. It was like solitary confinement. I ain't gonna lie to you. And it got on my nerves, but it's all good. I'm okay. Ashley, I'm being honest. I'm not gonna say that. I better not say that because people are listening. I better not say
yes. That. Keep it. Not so transparent.
Yeah, but it is what it is. I mean, I'm going. Whatever. Life happens, and then whatever the rest happens. I'm gonna ask this question right here, and I got a feeling what everybody's answer is gonna be, but I know what my personal experience was with this situation. Now, this is a question I want to ask, and I want to ask it the right way. Yeah, I am here. That's a good thing, Lady Karen. So I want to ask this, and I want y'all to think about this before you answer it, because I know what the surface answer is going to be, but I really want you to think about this question. Do you stay for the babies, or is it better or worse for the child to see a 2-parent home? Because if the parents aren't getting along, do you go ahead and leave, or is it better let's put this caveat out there. There's no abuse going on. All right. Y'all not having public fights and all that kind of stuff. We just really don't like each other. We're really not seeing eye to eye. Okay. Because that's really why a lot of people get divorced nowadays. It ain't for the stuff it used to be. But do you leave, or do you stay for the sake of the babies? Because statistics say that, and I'm not trying to do groupthink, but I am a little bit. Statistics say that the children have a lot better chance in society if they see a 2-parent home. So with that being said, is it better to leave, or is it better to stay? Not you yet, Jimmy. I'm gonna ask you first, Doc. What you think?
Okay.
On that? Well, that's a darn good question, Because as I say, the point is that you're looking at someone whose parents stayed together and then get married till I was 14 years old.
Okay.
So I saw a whole lot of stuff I probably shouldn't have seen. So especially in this day and age, and I'm gonna tell you, I mean, just being honestly, you look at it, I didn't realize how much it did to me until I got older, and then too, I found myself in relationship after relationship, and then trying to, how can I say it, fix some things that I couldn't fix back then. Say, for example, in my mother, or that I saw how it might have been. This is how things are supposed to be, according to what I saw my father go through. So, staying for the baby in that sense, yeah. I mean, you want to try to stay there for your children because you will want it to be a two-parent household because, I hear so many folks take the out and say co-parenting is fine. But that's if it reaches to the point, I believe that you just can't stand each other anymore. You just cannot do it any longer because everybody's not equally yoked. I mean, to be together.
Gotcha.
But then on the other side of it, the thing is that's what counseling is for. If you do not take the time to counsel by some shape, fashion, or form to get your rights, because the thing is you have to raise yourself before you have to raise your children.
That's good. That's good.
Because the thing is, it ain't the child that's the problem, it's you.
Mm.
So the thing is, if you have to raise yourself and be man or woman enough to raise yourself and correct the wrongs within your own mindset, take it to the altar, do however you may see fit to do it. But that child came into this world with a pureness and a point of understanding that I'm God's gift to you all, but I'm not yours. I'm God's.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to honor this by honoring not just me, but you got to honor yourself. So if it comes down into the point, sometimes, like James, you and I've had deep conversations, man. In that point, then sometimes you want to throw the cards in, sometimes you do throw the cards in, and we see what the effect that it has on the children. But if depending on the age of the children, a lot of times too, either you can right some wrongs before they ever get started, or you can ride a whole lot of wrongs out until you see some foul things go down later on, not just in you, but in them. So that's the type one. But I say, as an adults, you should be adults, but you have to raise yourself as an adult, because there's no such thing as a perfect person. And even in the midst of imperfections, you have to find the moment of how you can right that. And if you can't write it, then you got to be man or woman enough to admit it.
Wow. That's good. What you think, Ashley?
What everything that Dr. Kevin just said. I'm gonna let him take my answer. I'm just kidding.
Can you see my face? I know I don't have the camera tight today, but can you see my face?
Listen. I don't. I'm kind of on the fence about. Let me first say, I know a lot of people who have stayed in marriages and relationships for the sake of the children. And I don't want to say it was an excuse that they used, but one of the things that they said was that they did not want their children to be affected while in school. So they just decided they would stick it out. I don't feel like someone should stay in something where they are unhappy. But as it was stated, if there's a way to seek counsel to be able to get past whatever the issues are in your relationship, then yes, I'm all for a two-party household. I know you said that there's no abuse involved, and that may be physical abuse, but there may be some type of mental abuse that could go along with it. So it's mentally draining for me to stay here. And so because of that, I would much rather be healthier for my child. And this is both male or female, because men go through same traumas and stuff as we as women do. I would much rather be mentally healthy for my child and to see them, for them to see me in that light versus hanging on and holding on to something just for the sake of me being here for my children, because your children can sense when things aren't so well, even though we try to put on and hide and all of that great stuff. So sometimes it's better to, and they take on our emotions a lot of times as well too. So I feel like if you can stick it out, then do so. But if you think that it's just absolutely impossible and you just can't do it, then no, don't stay in it. My 2 cents.
Appreciate you, Jimmy.
Well, I was, my parents were married for 56 years. Okay, so I saw marriage, I saw arguing, I saw upset people, I saw dysfunction. You see that when people are married for a certain length of time. But what I have to say, if there's no love in the house, it makes no difference if 2 people are there.
Right.
Love is the key, because one thing about it, you're passing those traits off to your child or your children. And if they don't see love in the house, you're damaging the kids just because they don't have love. That's
right.
where with the whole thing, we're missing godly love. We're not showing our kids what godly love is about. A marriage isn't, and a marriage is not about love. Back then, my parents didn't get married about no love. It was a covenant and an agreement to further the African American relationship. It's a contract. But we looking for love. Everybody looking for emotion right now. And that's the major reason that we have no families left now. That there's a tear down. There's no godly love. No one wants to hang in there and stay. I saw 56 years of marriage, whether my parents fought, whether they cussed each other out, dysfunction or whatever. One thing about it, they stayed together. We just don't have that today anymore. You see what I'm saying? So if there's no love, I don't care. It doesn't do any good for the people to stay married if there's no love in the house. The kids are going to be damaged anyway.
So you saying your parents? So you said you saw dysfunction, fighting, and all that, but the love superseded all the dysfunction and the fighting and all that stuff.
I'm saying my parents were married for 56 years. When I was young, I saw them argue. I saw them fighting. But those things ironed them on, as they got older, it ironed itself out, and they grew and they learned. And you get to know that person over a certain, you're still going to have your disagreements. But I'm saying the mindset back then was, this is for better or for worse. This is for sickness or health, till death do us part. You don't have that today. You just don't have.
That's the problem. That mindset right there has changed. Because this is, this is the thing that irks me about a lot of people nowadays, especially with our society that has shifted away from the communal being aspect and has acquiesced to this whole egalitarian culture, where everybody's kind of doing their own thing, that's what upsets me, because now if I hear people decide, if you're not happy, why would you stay? Well, hell, happiness is based on happenings. That's what I was
absolutely.
Happiness has always been based on happenings, and so happenings can change at all times. And this is the thing. This is the big thing right here. Your parents were married for 56 years. Absolutely. Therefore, they had 56 years of experience of being married. But only 5 years into their marriage, they only had 5 years of experience. 8 years into their marriage, they only had 8 years of experience. 10 years into their marriage, they only had 10 years of experience. How much can a 10-year-old child do for themselves? Don't answer. So my point is, a lot of times we abort the mission before we've ever had time to grow together. Now,
absolutely.
If we get married without planning for children,
there we go.
And when we don't plan for the children, we haven't taken the time to cultivate our own marriage, because Junior Trey was colicky, so we had to put that joker in the the car seat. We had to bring the car seat in the house, let him lay a certain way just so he wouldn't cry. So how do you think his crying was affecting our alone time, right? And so that happens so much over time, and we don't take the time to cultivate our relationships. And because we don't take the time to cultivate our relationship, now because we're not happy and our happenings are not going away, then what we do? We abort the mission. What I talked about a couple weeks ago, I said rather than heal, we would rather amputate.
Mm-hmm. But people don't think about any of that. I mean, we're not up and quitting our job. We hate our dang on job every day, most of the time. But we stay on that
for better or for worse.
until we retire.
If you get fired, what you gonna do? You gonna go find another job. You're not gonna sit at the door every day of the job and beg the boss to take you back. You're gonna move on.
Absolutely. But we're leaving too soon. I think a lot. Now I got in my personal, like I said, I went through a divorce, 2019, devastating for me. But I know for a fact, I ain't gonna say I did, but definitely she did. She stayed long enough to make sure that we got those formative years taken care of. My son was almost in college, so I'm glad I was in the house with a male child for until that time. My daughter was 13, 14, and I'm gonna tell you something. I've noticed the difference in how she responds to her mother, how she responds to life, and all those things since I've been out of the house. Totally different response. And she tries to play me against her mama, but we made sure they understood that we're a team, Jack. My ex told her before we left the house, she said, listen right here. Now, the only difference is that we're not going to be living in the same house, but we're all still Team Kirklin in this house.
You understood the assignment, didn't you? You understood the assignment, didn't you?
You understood the assignment. And this is the point. And I'm glad you said it like that. And this is for everybody that's listening. The assignment is not us.
That's right.
The assignment is our children.
Is the children.
But the problem is we want to say, forget the children. If I'm not happy, then I'm out of here. And I'm mad, I'm upset, I'm going to kick him out the house. I hate him, I'm going to demonize him, or vice versa. I wouldn't dare argue in front of my children and cuss and do all those kinds of things. I think, not take that back, we might have had 1 or 2 arguments in 20 some odd years. But the assignment should always be the children.
Priority.
Right now, Dr. Kevin, and thank you for coming on tonight. But the assignment is Caleb. When I asked you, because I sell life insurance, I said, Doc, you got Caleb set up on a college fund with an IUL? What you say? Yep. Already done. Now I wish I could have got that commission. I ain't gonna lie. I was trying to sneak in there and get that little commission up off of you, though. but he has already taken the time to make sure. And you know what? It don't take much. $150 a month. You can take $150 a month, put it in an index universal life insurance policy.
That's right.
And watch it grow for 15, 16, 17, 18 years. And when that child gets to college, he'll have $40,000, $50,000 sitting there extra on top of scholarships or whatever you do with that. But you got to make sure you prepared for the next generation. But we too busy fighting and arguing over this stuff. Come on, man. The child is the responsibility. That's why I said we got a parent with or without a partner. Doc has shown us so many different dynamics. Doc had a daughter, didn't know about her, found out when she was 20 years old, found out she had been through foster care and all these types of things. But as soon as he found out he had a daughter, he automatically inserted himself in her life and said, and his words were, I went at it full-fledged. Got her cars, assumed the role of a father. And that's what men do. Had a 27-year-old son, wasn't married to his mother, but his village stepped up. The child was between his mother's house and the girl's mother's house. And did I hear it right? And
yes,
he made sure, and then found out later on that the child wasn't his biologically, but that time, by this time he loves the child and he's going to raise the child. That's a man. And now here he is the second time around, 47 years old, raising a 3-year-old. And I've seen his relationship with him. And he loves that boy. He reminds me, if y'all know the story of Jacob and Benjamin, and Benjamin was the son of his old age, that's him. And he's raising that little boy, and that little boy has as much character, because one thing he said, he didn't say he's the man of the house. Because children, I'm gonna tell y'all ladies, that baby ain't the man, never gonna be, he's not the man of the house, but he's speaking to him as a future man. Right. And so he talks to him a certain way. I remember I had a conversation with some people a long time ago when Trey was about 3 years old. And I said, I'm raising my child to teach him how to think. They said, how can you teach him how to think? How can you teach him how to think? I put him in scenarios where he has to think. And if he doesn't answer that if he doesn't answer the way I think he ought to, then I say, what were you thinking? And then he'll tell me what he was thinking, and then we'll talk through that whole scenario. And then when I knew that I had made it to the fruit of my labor was when I saw the fruit of my labor was when my son was John. You remember this? He was 19, 20 years old, could have redshirted or could have came back for 20 years. He called me and said, or for 20 games for that season. But he called me. He said, Dad, you know what? I was thinking. Now, honestly, he said a whole lot after I was thinking, but I really didn't listen anymore. I was done because I was multitasking anyway. You know why I didn't listen anymore? Because he told me he was thinking. Mm-hmm. I was done. Whatever happened after that was on him. And so when he got through saying what he was thinking, I said, all right, then, kid, I'll holler at you. Hung up the phone. He called me, Dad, what do you think? What difference does it make? You said you were thinking. I'm cool with that. Love you. Bye. And hung up the phone. Because long as he can look at it from different sides. And that's what, Kevin, I appreciate you, because that's what you're putting in your child even now, because you see what, John, I know that's what you put in Diario. And I'm sure many of us, that's what we try to do with our children. Listen, Doc, it's been real. I appreciate you for coming on.
Oh my God, it's been good.
Doc,
appreciate you, yo.
Man, Doc and I talking about doing something soon in the future on a different day. We're looking at possibly doing something in addition to what we do on Monday nights. And so, John, we might be incorporating you into something like that too, because we need to do something for young fathers. I think we need to do something for young fathers and I really wanted to get young couples on here. I knew the numbers wasn't going to be the same tonight. I knew because we ain't talking about anything that's going to make men and women fight, because all they want to do is see us argue and tell each other what to do and all that. So I knew the numbers wasn't going to be the same, but I'm really interested to see how the replay performs, because I think some valuable. Yeah, Doc's a Kappa, John, so don't be mad at him. John's O Psi Phi to the core. He's an Omega Psi Phi man, so
we'll excuse it.
Whatever.
Well, 1911 was a great year. I just want everybody to understand that, but somebody had to come first.
I'm like, Trey. I'm gonna send a mental telepathy to Trey, see if he'll jump on here with John.
You Kappas be trying to take over.
My son is an Omega man too. So I can't say nothing because I ain't played, but I'm sure.
Hey, look, if I may just come in a hint in a history interjectory on this point because this Q and Kappa thing. Now I just want y'all to understand something. That when we get into history, those Qs look like me first. It ain't the point of that they were pretty boys, but those Noops. Back in the day, they were rough and they were tough.
Absolutely.
That's why it's an achievement. I don't know how times change, but the thing is, understand that we're gonna be there forever.
Forever.
Don't try to start no beef on this live with this now.
I want to see a fight.
Gee.
I want to see some beef. I want to see a fight.
Look, I see John.
You want to see some? You want to see some juice, huh?
Oh yeah, I want to see some. Definitely want to see some juice. Hey, but listen, all of those that have been who've been trying to help me as far as buying shirts and whatnot. You see, everybody has on uniforms tonight. Ashley has hers on.
I understood the assignment tonight.
You understood the assignment tonight.
Look, I had to make sure when I seen you said you dropped the shirt off to Dr. Kevin, I was like, I can't let Dr. Kevin get on here with his uniform, and I don't be with my uniform on. So I did what I was.
Yeah, he got his uniform on, and it looked like he's wearing it proudly. But I'm gonna go ahead and get him. I'm going to get him a red and white one so he can be in uniform.
Absolutely.
So, no, thanks everyone that listened. If you all want to get any shirts, hey, these hoodies that I put out, if y'all hadn't seen those, go to my Facebook page.
They fine.
For real, they are hot. So check out those. This one I got on. I'm not really gonna sell this one because it's got a crazy font. But I just wear them every day. You know what? Because I had a cat the other day, about 47, 48 years old. He bought a shirt and a hoodie. And he said every day he wears his hoodie, it reminds him of the path that he's on. And that's what I wanted to hear. I want to hear people say that they're on the path to better. So I wear it every day. I got on something literally every day with that on it. But we've had a good show tonight. Like I said, we went a different way. We wasn't pointing the finger. We wasn't fighting. We were just informing and communicating. I wanted to see how it went over, and I'm pleased. And I think the Lord led me to bring Dr. Kevin on, and I didn't even know his whole story, but he has really blessed me. And Doc, I don't know if you can see the comments, but they've really been talking over there about how you're a real man and all those types of things, man. So we appreciate you, Doc. Kudos
Absolutely.
to you, man. And we look forward to bringing you back on again soon.
Absolutely.
Ashley, Jimmy, y'all know I appreciate y'all. We're going to keep doing it. We're going to keep doing it. Our only goal is to help our community. And I think we'll be better. But listen, I like to end the show like this every week. The world is changing.
Ho for you. If you have not gotten your shirts, be sure that you do order your shirts. Remember, where is the Cash App?
Man, you don't be begging these people for that, but I put it up.
We're not begging. That's why I'm on here. That's what I'm doing. Listen.
Okay.
So listen, if you guys have not already ordered your t-shirts, go ahead and get those orders in. I do believe he offers long sleeves, but if you don't want a long sleeve t-shirt, get your hoodies in. They are super fire.
I'm going to show them one.
So go ahead and show them. They
this
are
is one of the hoodies right here.
Super fire.
This is one of the hoodies. I call this the purple peace hoodie because it has the little peace symbols on there.
Send that one to the Omega.
This was already sold. So y'all can't get this one. But
send that one to the Omegas.
So guys, if you need a shirt, need a sweatshirt, need both, that would be the better buy. Go ahead and get both of those. You see the Cash App there. Send that information to Mr. Kirklin with however you want color. Not font. I think it's only one font size, but the color of your font and the color of your sweatshirt.
I'll custom make them how they want them to do it. If they want a bigger font, tell me you want a bigger font. You know
well, y'all hear it. Y'all hear it.
Yeah,
just inbox him and he'll get that taken care of for you. If you want to be a blessing to the ministry and the movement and what he is doing, and you've already purchased your shirt, you see the Cash App there. No amount is too less. We want it all. So go ahead and be a blessing to the man. And that's all that I have.
Is that all you have, young lady?
That's all I have. I do.
You.
Listen, before we do go, Dr. Kevin, I did enjoy you on tonight.
Absolutely.
They already know how I feel about. I love to sit and listen to a male's perspective, and I definitely enjoyed it. As always, Big Brother Jimmy, I enjoyed you. You was really good on tonight. You was really good on tonight. And James, of course, I thank you for allowing me to be on your podcast and a part of the team.
Jimmy, Wednesday and Friday at 10 o'clock, right?
Yeah, I come on Wednesday and Friday mornings at 9 o'clock. Y'all tap in. I try to help empower the women so women can know their worth and get the man they deserve.
All right. Guess what, y'all? The world is changing. The question is, why do you remain the same? Y'all have a good night, and we'll catch you next week.
Good night.